So anything else you'd like to, any message for the generation, flowing into architecture, any message for them that, they should be.
Don't do it. I mean, really what we're doing in architecture is we're creating shelter by using this actually very precious little thin layer of the planet, and we aggressively transforming that to make shelter. So that is architecture. So if it's possible to give a little bit of that back, then you're starting to think in the right direction. So this is our philosophy. So if we take up ground for building, we try and give back ground to plant on. So whether it's roofs, planters along the edges, wherever we can create opportunity for nature to come back to the projects. Also just being a little bit more conscious about where the materials come from, how far it travels to get there, how it's, where does it come from, how sustainable is it?
Hi everyone, welcome to Walk the Talk with Bulbeer. I have with me today Phillippe Fouché from SAOTA, actually all the way down from Cape Town. Thank you so much for joining us, Phillippe.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Let's get rolling with the questions. So Phillippe, tell us about your early years. What first sparked your interest in architecture?
Well, when I started, I didn't realize it was architecture. I was just very much into making things, understanding things, taking things apart, putting them back together, trying to understand design. And then when I got a little bit older, like a young child, I started just lots of Lego, It's kind of opened a whole world for me at that age. And then a little bit later, when I started having to make career choices and so on, I was very interested in aeronautical architecture.
Oh, nice.
Or design engineering. And at the time, there was like all kinds of stuff going on in my life. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to become like a patent lawyer or aeronautical engineer or an architect or whatever. And then actually, I think the process back in the day of joining the architecture school kind of flipped me over, because I was lucky to get into engineering and architecture and law. But then that it was actually quite hard to get into architecture, believe it or not, because back then there weren't many job opportunities. So it wasn't, I didn't think it was that popular. But yes, and then I started architecture and just fell in love with it, like your first project, you start realizing, thank goodness, this is where I was supposed to be.
Nice. That sounds sweet. Was there a particular moment or project that made you realize this was more than just a profession for you?
I wouldn't say a specific project, but I think maybe yes. The first project that I worked on was actually an early childhood center in really an impoverished area outside of Cape Town. And talking about architecture being more than a profession, I think that kind of was my foundation where I started doing work, and you kind of had this tangible connection between the work that you're doing and the way that it was influencing people's lives. And especially in that community, because although it's an early childhood development center, it was actually fulfilling much of a community function to the whole little neighborhood. So quite a thrill, but as a young architect, completely out of my depth, I'm just so thankful that it worked out.
Absolutely. How did your journey with SAOTA begin? What drew you to the firm?
When I started working, I actually started working for one of the people who examined me in a smaller design firm. And then at some point I met Stefan, who was the founding partner of SAOTA. And him and I just really kind of got along, and he was really so inspiring. The work that they were doing were, obviously at the highest level at the time. So I thought I could learn a lot, and my lecturers always said that when you stop learning, you need to move on, So it was initially really just trying to understand the profession better, try and understand the business side of it better, but very much inspired by his personality as well, kind of convinced me that it's the place to be. And now, 17 years later, I'm still there, so, and still learning.
Of course. We are always learning and evolving. That's going to be on till our last breath, I guess.
I hope so.
Absolutely. Should be. SAOTA is known for its seamless integration of architecture with nature. How do you approach that balance in your projects?
I think for us, I mean, really what we're doing in architecture is we're creating shelter by using this actually very precious little thin layer of the planet, and we aggressively transforming that to make shelter. So that is architecture. So if it's possible to give a little bit of that back, then you're starting to think in the right direction. So this is our philosophy. So if we take up ground for building, we try and give back ground to plant on. So whether it's roofs, planters along the edges, wherever we can create opportunity for nature to come back to the project.
Wow.
That's very much a philosophy for us at the moment. And then also just being a little bit more conscious about where the materials come from, how far it travels to get there, how it's, where does it come from, how sustainable is it? So I think those are kind of the key principles. In terms of energy usage and so on, of course, that becomes one of our key principles. An overarching principle is just not to waste energy. So making openings correct sizes, allowing for cross ventilation. I think all the other things, all the, shall we sport technologies, photovoltaics, all the first things are becoming very much common practice. But I think if you can kind of embed the principles with the young architects that we don't waste energy, and we try and be very conscious with that.
That's a good message for, the architects coming up. So at least in your firm and around, of course.
Yes, and it's not always that easy. I mean, in some of the environments where we're working, you want to, or some clients want glass boxes, and really it's very often not appropriate. So you need to.
How do you deal with such clients? I want to know how to deal with such clients, because this is more of, a glass box. I can imagine, like how do you convince them not to do it? If at all you feel it's not worthy of being in a certain place, how do you convince them?
I think with all clients, there's a massive process of just getting to know them, earning their trust, and building a relationship with the clients so that you come to a point where you can have real discussions about the real aspects of it.
Absolutely.
And if all of that doesn't work, you bring the engineers in, because typically those buildings also struggle climatically just to be efficient. So,
Okay.
but generally, I think we're very lucky with clients who have a relatively open mind, very smart people typically. So,
That's great.
very often a client comes in with one idea, and when you look at the eventual project, it's something quite different. And that for me is interesting, because people see things that we've done that's, for instance, constructed now, but that may have been designed 5, 6, 8 years ago. So we have moved on, and clients come to us for something at a certain point of time. But as we said, we want to keep on learning and pushing and finding new ways of doing things. And 9 out of 10 times we're able to bring our clients along with us in that journey.
That's great, because I think it's like today, if I have gone to someone's home or any project that is done by you, and that's going to be like, oh my God, when I do my home, it's going to be like this. And that could be like 5 years, 10 years later. And then I come to you and you go like, you know what, this was years ago. We moved on way ahead.
Exactly.
So you're going to get something even better than what that person got. Don't go tell that person.
Well, that is, I think that is how design works, and people are very informed nowadays. People are quite informed in terms of what's happening in the world of design. Much different to what it was, for instance, when I started out on. So that's been quite a positive thing. So people have the language to express what they like.
So you have clients from all over the world? Of course.
Yes, at the moment we're working in just under 90 cities.
Just
across
under
the
90 cities. Okay.
Yeah,
Sweet.
give or take. And that is part of our journey and challenge, and that's one of the things that really fascinates me about what I'm doing at the moment, is that we get to engage with people from. We're doing 2 lovely projects in Japan at the moment, in Tokyo. We've just completed a project in Helsinki. We're doing work in Australia. We're doing work in West Africa. We're doing work here. So it's been, for me, quite fascinating. And that's a lot of what my talk tomorrow is about, is a way of seeing and learning, of a place, and trying to synthesize that in the work that you're doing without kind of breaking the spirit of the company's work. So that's a bit of the journey that we are on at the moment.
Lovely. How would you define SAOTA's design DNA? What sets your projects apart globally?
Phew. Um, it's a very tough question. I think that one of the things that we try and always achieve is a sense of authenticity. And we find that very often a project can only be authentic if the narrative's driven by the place, by the context, and by the people. So I love the fact that within the spirit of our DNA, we can do a project in Munich that looks completely different to the project in, say, Dakar, Senegal, but it's a recognizable thread or DNA that's carried through the project. And that, I think that responsiveness to the narrative or sensitivity to the place comes into play, and that gives the project some character.
Can you walk us through the creative process from concept to completion on a signature SAOTA project?
Yes.
Thank you.
We start off, I think I'm not sure it's that different to other companies, to be honest, because I do think it's a fairly efficient way of working. We start off by testing many diagrams. We start off with multiple consultations with the clients, typically a site visit. And once we started arranging the building, we actually also combined with that, obviously understand the climate, where the sun is coming from, really arrange the building quite diagrammatically. And from there on to where we get to our initial design concept is probably where the real magic happens, because that's where we start assimilating things that we saw on site. There might be a junior architect that joined us on a site visit and said, but can you remember that shop that we walked past that had this amazing texture or textile? Or, it sometimes you won't believe where these things come from. But very often it's driven by the topology, the topography and the landscape around us. So we find a lot of inspiration from site. From there on, once we've designed the building up to a design development phase, which includes the detailing and the modeling of virtually every room, the local architect takes over the process of the local authority approvals.
Okay.
And also the technical documentation that goes to site. So we always partner with the local team, and even that's been quite interesting, because over time, and it takes years, but over time you learn to listen more than you used to, and I think we learn a lot through that.
Patience.
Yes, and we've had architects that's in Geneva that we've been working with for 12 years. That's really become friends and almost like an extension of our office, and we love
So
that.
do you have, when you travel and you work all over the world, do you even have, the language issues, or it's all English?
Yeah, well, it's mostly English.
Of course.
They always say that the only international language is bad English. And since English is my second language, I'm part of that family of thinking. And no, I think more or less we get along. Yeah, and there we need translators. It's been a little bit challenging in places like Japan and also in some areas in
European
Africa.
countries. Okay.
Europe is mostly English to everyone.
No, when you spoke about Japan, it did give me a hit. This question came to me because you said Japan.
Yeah.
Because you definitely need someone, transcripting what you're saying. Otherwise, you're just talking to the horse.
Well, in the Japanese projects, we've been working through a local representative.
Okay.
And she's been fantastic because she also has a way of understanding and communicating cultural nuances to us and so on. So that's been fantastic to it. So,
That's great. You're lucky to get the right people then. Very important.
yeah.
SAOTA works across continents. How do you adapt your design approach to different cultures and climates? We spoke about the culture.
We kind of touched on it earlier, and I think I don't want to elaborate on it much more, but I do think that this idea that you can take an architectural language as a cookie cutter solution to different places on this planet is absolutely wrong. And I think that's a very old approach, a very old modernist idea of building. We want to make buildings that fit into where they are, and we find that narrative and inspiration is part of our projects.
So how? Have you worked on projects in India, or do you see opportunities here for SAOTA's design ethos?
India for us has been a fantastic market. I think there's this very easy way for South Africans and people in India to work together. I absolutely adore the people. I mean, we've really been very lucky with fantastic clients here, and India has a spirit of getting things done at the moment, which is so
Done very
exciting, you know, quickly. But also, there is this. I don't want to say it's an urgency. It's this ambition to do, and a courage to do work that's out of the ordinary. And that's very much in the spirit of South Africa. So it's not just cricket and so on that we share a passion for. I think there's this sense of courage. We all come from the history of colonialism, which we also share some histories with. And for us, for me personally, it's almost been a little bit of a home away from home, in the sense that we're lucky to have many projects here, and over the years have made very good friends in India. So, and for us, it's also obviously having a good local team that we work with is such a fundamental part of it.
nice. What do you think the luxury home of the future would look like?
So there's a sense that I have that architecture, you know, people are willing to pay lots of money for a special handbag. But architecture, especially homes, it's like a handmade designer item, right? Everyone is unique, and I think that authenticity and making buildings that are of its place and for our clients is going to become more and more important. So we love the fact that we can involve local artisans in our work, because that completely elevates the work, you know, and that makes us very proud to also go back to our office and say, look at this project that we're building in India, where the local artisans made these glazed tiles that we made a brise-soleil with. It's absolutely, it's a very simple idea, but bringing that into our work makes it authentic for the clients. It absolutely for us ties in with the place, and then boosting also the local economy, you know, to try and get people involved with projects. So
Very important.
again, listening to what the place is telling us, rather than coming with a kind of let's call it an imposing philosophy, you know, of we know what we want to do, rather listen a little bit more.
Good. Are there any experimental ideas or unbuilt concept you're excited about bringing to life?
Yes, we've recently been involved with a fascinating project in Frankfurt, outside of Frankfurt, where we've completely transformed the way of office living. So this was a competition proposal that we've submitted, where we've turned the idea of an office around. You know, typically you come into the office at the bottom, and then you kind of circulate up through the building to the level where you want to be, and then you get these kind of cellular offices. And with this project, that was so interesting is we kind of see it as a vertical village. So we bring people in, and then all the social functions are at the top, where you can look back over the city. And we've actually activated these roofs with padel courts, picnic spaces, like a full-on garden on the roof of this building, and then connecting these the original building was like a pyramidal shape, so almost connecting these levels down to the lake. So you can arrive in the morning at your office, go to your local coffee shop, but it's part of your building, and then kind of traverse through the building. And those opportunities for communication with your colleagues and breakout spaces along the way is really where it becomes like the high street, you know, where people rub shoulders and chat and share ideas.
It sounds amazing. I mean, so interesting.
Well, we hope that we get an opportunity that we can build something like that.
I'm sure you would. I mean, of course, it's gonna take a lot, but do share the pictures with us whenever it's done. Would love to have it. Love to see it. It sounds so beautiful. I mean, when you have everything under one roof, and in a very different way, like, a different format altogether through what you're mentioning, how it would be like your coffee shop inside. Everything is like, and when you're entering also, it's like, wow, this is where I'm going to be all day, and it's so pleasant. It sounds so
That's a dream. You make it sound even better.
Last but not the least, if you weren't an architect, what do you think you'd be doing?
So I still think back of my days of dreaming about aeronautical design, cars, planes. So that would definitely still be a passion of mine. But recently, I've thought about retirement.
Really?
Not that I'm that old.
Early retirement is what we're talking about.
I was asking myself this question: what am I going to do? You know, because I know I'm going to drive my wife crazy if I don't have something. And there are amazing trees at our place that we've taken down, and I'd like to experiment a little bit more with sculpting. You know, I think in our work it comes through as well, that this sculptural aspect, and I think there's a lot to learn there again. You know, and whether it's that medium or another medium, I think somewhere in the creative field, I'll find joy.
I'm sure it has to be creative.
Yeah.
It can't be anything else from all that you have, and especially your dream project. Definitely has to be creative.
Well, they do say that architects kind of peak much later on in their careers, so I'm hoping for that still.
But I think it's not only with architecture, it's with all the creative people in this world.
Yes.
You know, if
It
you.
takes time.
Yeah. It takes time. But yeah. So anything else you'd like to, any message for the generation, flowing into architecture? Any message for them that, they should be.
Don't do it. No, there are certainly easier ways to make money. That's for sure. So if you're, I think if you can figure out what it is that drives you, you must follow that. If you are one of the people that want to make things and see how things work and explore new ideas, then architecture, the field of design generally, I think would be good for you. It's a long process, as everyone knows, and certainly I think in my case, I've just been so lucky to have good guidance of people,
True.
my senior, who's learned me so much about the profession, and I'm sure that it's not that easy for everyone. So if you do decide to pursue this, try and experience it. Try and see what the best people are doing and see if that fits. But certainly architecture for me in my career has been very satisfying. And the joy that we get, I mean, it sounds so simple, but the joy that we get from clients who just tells us that they can't believe how they just love being here. You know, we've had a client, we've recently had a client who said they don't know how to go on holiday anymore because everywhere they go is a little bit like, oh, it's not as nice. So that for us is also amazing. Just the human side of it.
100%. I mean, if this is such a big compliment that, people don't want to go on vacation because they're more happier where they are with the space that you have created for them. That's a very big compliment because what I see today is like, I've always been of this thought process that whenever I've moved into a home, I've not stepped out for like months because I'm like, oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Yes, loving it, yeah.
I'm loving it. And I'm sure with the kind of work you guys do and the size of the house and all of that, keeping in mind, you're getting a compliment like this, I can totally imagine what you must have actually created for that family. It's a very big thing in today's day and age when people don't want to be home. They make homes to make homes. They make houses which, don't turn into homes. But then, you guys probably are doing it because it's a big thing.
Well, to create a place where family stories are shared, where they, end up spending their lives, is such a tremendous, it's just a privilege, an honor to actually be a part of that process. So I think for me, that's been one of the highlights just of my career so far is having those experiences and trying to understand people better so that you can actually do a better job.
I mean, this is, I mean, it couldn't be a better compliment. I'm so touched by, you when you mentioned a client saying such a thing. I mean, this is by far the best compliment anyone can get.
No, we're very lucky.
Absolutely. But you did say once that do something that you can make money from, like, make money. So what did you mean by that? That after that something
No, my son is picking his subjects now at the moment. So it was just interesting to go through this journey through my son's perspective, because I said to him, you know, like if you're interested in design, that's one thing, but if you're interested in making money quickly, design is probably not for you. You know, so I think it entirely depends on what drives you, and I think you get many people who enjoy the process, the accounting, which is now what my son is interested in, and he loves that process. But it would be a process that kills me, you know. So for me, that's not even an option. I think one must just accept that it takes a little bit of time, but it's so gratifying. So
Yeah, of course. But I think anything that you want to make quick money, the quicker money comes in, the quicker it leaves you.
true. No, I just think we the hours spent generally, especially as a young architect, is sometimes quite brutal. You know, to get to the point where you really kind of on a roll.
Yeah, yeah. It's like even the young doctors, the young architects, the young lawyers. It's the most brutal time, and that's what makes you what you are today, isn't it? Had it not been brutal,
No,
would have been
I
great.
can't see another way. There are no shortcuts. So
There are no
absolutely
shortcuts.
right.
Yeah. And especially when you're following your passion. If you're doing it for the money, then it's not going to work out. Then you won't be able to make it to the next level. You know that you'll get out when you're young.
Yeah.
You can't you can't cross that stage because that's really brutal. When I hear students, giving in almost 15, 17 hours, be it a doctor, be it a lawyer, be it an architect, in any firm when they're doing their internships, it's crazy. And that's actually what makes them, that drives them to do what they want to do and take that decision. This brutality kills them, either makes them or breaks them.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, so
It's not for everyone.
it's not for everyone. Yeah, totally. And making quick money is also not for everyone.
Absolutely.
Anyways, but thank you so much,
Thank you.
Philippe. It was lovely chatting up with you. I hope you enjoyed it too.
Thank you very much. It was very nice.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching.